North Pole. I pace the length of the sidewalk as the gravity of the situation sits on my chest. I'm drowning.
What did you think was happening?
Santa Claus asks. I don't know. I thought I was having a psychotic episode, or I was in a heavily alcohol-induced coma or something.
Paul, we're in that thin veil between the living and the dead, where time and space are malleable.
Santa stops me from pacing and puts his hands on my shoulders.
I'm going to level with you. I'm here with a very specific goal in mind, and we don't have a lot of time. That clock of yours, the one you thought was broken, it's counting down the final moments of your mortal life. Back in that frozen lake, you've got about half a minute left to live, and for every second in there, we have a half hour to do what I've come here to help you do.
30 seconds translates into 15 hours, I say.
This whole thing is going to hurt like hell, which is kind of the point. If it had no sting, it wouldn't mean anything, and it must mean something to be effective. We're not interested in squandering this opportunity. It's too valuable, and we only have one shot.
At what?
At giving you the single greatest Christmas gift of your life.
Santa takes his hands off my shoulders and rubs them together.
Yes, you're dying, and if you want that to change, you need to start listening to me. Now give me that key.
Reluctantly, I hand over the silver key my mother gave me. He takes a few steps back, holds it about waist high, and pushes it into the empty space in front of him as though he's opening an invisible lock. Something clicks. Santa smiles at me, holding up his other palm. He pushes the open air, and a seam tears through space, appearing as a doorway of undulating light. Santa says,
Your reality is based upon your perception. You breathe air, so air gives life. Space is a vacuum, so it's devoid of all living matter. What if I told you there were beings up there that do just fine without the things you think are required for life?
I start to reply, but he cuts me off.
I'm not saying there is. What I want you to understand is while it wouldn't be beyond your comprehension to imagine what that creature would look like, there's a statistical improbability you choose correctly out of infinite possibilities.
Rubbing the bridge of my nose, I gesture for him to get to the point.
That's why when I show up with the gift of your salvation, you probably look at me and see an angel or a cleric, or maybe even Jesus Christ himself.
I scoff. Try Father Christmas. His eyes deaden as his smile fades. He stares at me, the corners of his mouth twitching.
I look like Santa Claus?
I nod. Brow sinking. He studies me for an indication I might be joking. The longer he stares at me, the more he hyperventilates.
I can't overstate just how fucked up that is, Paul.
He turns toward the glowing portal, giving birth to new horrifying realizations.
If I'm Santa...
He swallows hard. His head sags.
Why couldn't your superego have pictured Doc Brown or some Harrison Ford character?
It's not that bad, I say, lying to both of us. He shushes me.
Give it a second to sink in.
The reluctant Santa pauses another moment, his eyes staring into the middle distance and muttering incoherently before he works up the strength to continue. As the portal opens, the voice of Bing Crosby floats out on the tender wings of an Irving Berlin tune. There's a great deal of commotion on the other side as elves go about their business, building snowmen and decking the halls of the North Pole. The air is a mixture of cinnamon and peppermint, fruitcake and pine. We step through, looking with hysterical shock at the incredible scene all around us. The street here, which has been cobbled with bricks shaped like gingerbread men, is lined with dozens of quaint workshops, stables, and storehouses. The village stretches out for miles in every direction, winding into a winter wonderland of housing, provisions, and entertainment for all of Santa's helpers. A church bell clangs out a cheery tune, causing a ripple of excitement to work its way down the busy street. We're in the main square, It's made up of bakeries, shops, and a movie theater, which is playing A Charlie Brown Christmas. At the head of the square is a large rustic lodge with a clock tower featuring dancing wooden characters. Okay, I say. I take it back. Santa's grimace proves he's even more bewildered than I am.
It's, representational of your subconscious mind. This is where your thoughts and memories go to make sense of the world. It only looks like the North Pole right now because your twisted mind decided I should manifest as this fat bastard. This is what makes sense to you, somehow.
But it doesn't. None of what's happening tonight makes any sense at all.
I'm not a trained psychologist, so instead of delving into whatever mental health issue you must be struggling with that manifested this god-forsaken hellscape, let's focus our attention on getting you back on your timeline and saving your life.
I stop in front of one of the storefronts. Santa asks me what I'm doing, and I say, let's see what my subconscious tastes like. I'd imagine those gingerbread houses must be low in calories. I dip my finger into the frosting of a particularly scrumptious-looking cake, then pop it into my mouth. Wow, that's good. Santa groans impatiently and beckons me onward.
Come on.
I follow, but only after scooping up one last mind-blowing morsel. Lead the way, Santa. He stops, spinning around on his heels, angrily pointing at my chest.
Don't call me that.
But you're Santa Claus. What else should I call you?
Anything. Pick something.
Kris Kringle? Or Mr. Kringle? Or Chris? That's almost normal. He mauls the idea, swishing his lips like he's tasting a wine well past its time. Lowering his eyes, he pats me on the shoulder.
How about Nicholas? For old Saint Nick.
I shrug. All right, Nicholas. Tell me if I'm close. You're new to this whole racket. I'm your first assignment, and you're trying to earn your wings. Is that a bullseye or what? Nicholas grimaces at me.
Something like that.
A passing elf sees us and gets excited.
Merry Christmas, Santa!
Nicholas waves him away.
Blow me, Legolas!
Hey! The elf shouts. My name's Snowflake, and I deserve respect, Donche Lauren!
Nicholas seems to legitimately regret his words, and he calls after the angry elf with profuse apologies. He turns to me, covering his mouth.
I shouldn't have done that. Things are dangerous enough on your timeline, but when we're here, there's no telling what could happen. Like I said, your subconscious mind exists to help you make sense of the world. It'll fight back against any abnormalities threatening your reality. You've obviously got a fertile imagination, and I don't want to see what you could dream up to destroy us.
I'm caught by his words. A fertile imagination. It gets me thinking. When I come back down from my thoughts, I ask, my mind will try to fight me?
In the real world, your mind will fight you when something challenges your worldview. When we're traveling back and forth on your timeline, however, your mind will send out ripples when something different than what you remember happens. It will recoil at moments of deep regret, and when you break logic, your subconscious mind will absolutely try to decimate you. When we're here in your subconscious and things happen that threaten your sanity, your mind will simply collapse in on itself. The real danger comes when things from in here show up out there.
Nicholas smiles madly.
But that's not going to happen because we're going to follow the rules.
I reflect his smile back at him. So from now on, you have to act like the real Santa when we're here. Nicholas rolls his eyes and walks to the rustic lodge with the clock tower. Noel is written in royal frosting spreading across its facade. He steps between two candy cane pillars, approaching the O, then takes hold of a hidden knob sitting in the middle of the round door. Pushing it open, he ushers me inside.